first thing is first, which is the DXY. And of course, we've had a very, very bullish morning for the DXY, and things are looking very, very bullish right now. And of course, we've been expecting price to retrace for two major reasons. Number one, we've taken up major lows on the higher time frames, particularly the weekly chart. And number two, the market is very, very stretched, very overextended. We've been selling off for, well, since the high there back in Jan, so the start of the year, we've been very, very stretched to the downside without much of a pullback. So expecting a pullback because simply we haven't had one for a while. And two, we've taken out some major lows, which could potentially induce that pullback. So it looks like we are seeing that push to the upside now for the dollar. And I'm looking to see if I can short it again because I still do have that bearish bias. And I'm looking to see what we can do in these areas for potential selling opportunities. So 101.5 and 103.5/104, kind of anywhere thin there. So between 103 to 104.5 really. Those are two areas I'm looking at. So we've had a lovely move into this area. So far momentum still looks pretty bullish. Bit of a wick to the upside, but no real indication yet of price falling at the top or potentially looking to sell off. So still going to monitor what we do here for the dollar, because this potentially could invite sellers into the market and we could see a move down. So this area does interest me. Of course, if that area doesn't hold and price does rally through that, well then my focus will shift onto this area and see what we can do in there for, again, some selling opportunities. Because I'm still bearish longer term dollar. So I still like the idea of shorting it, but this is now our retracement phase. Now it's just anticipating when that phase is potentially over and looking to follow the trend again. But I'm going to see what we do in this area. Like I said, so far still pretty bullish, so not a lot to take away, but we'll see how price reacts. Same thing with euro as well. Pretty much the exact same analysis, just flipped, to be honest. Has been for a while, which is, again, we've taken up major highs on the weekly chart. Market's pretty overextended. We've been bullish since the start of the year. Not much retracement. This is the biggest retracement we've seen all year until now, of course. So the market has been overdue that pullback, and we had that massive wick to the upside a few weeks back, which kind of tells us that, okay, momentum is dying out. Potentially we are going to push down. So market was pretty stretched to the upside, taking up major highs. Those are two good reasons for us to see a pullback. Now it looks like we are seeing that. But again, for euro, I do think the market is dipping down to form a higher low before it does continue. So I'm looking at a couple areas, again, pretty much similar to the dollar, which is this resistance level here and this level here. But again, anywhere within here, to be honest. So anywhere between 1.095 and 1.075, I would really be happy to take some longs there. Well, we'll come into this first level. Again, left a bit of a wick to the downside, so things are looking a little bit interesting. Similar to the dollar, we'll see what happens as we develop. Potentially momentum could still just keep pushing down. If that's the case, I'll step to one side, let price do its thing. If we get to the second area, then of course we'll see what price does down here. But again, now that we've had that retracement, now I'm looking for this momentum to fizzle out at some point. And I'm looking for long opportunities now with euro and short opportunities with the dollar. So that's very much my my thought process now. And yeah, we'll see how that develops throughout the week. At the moment, looking very, very bearish, so not much to do. Heading over to pound USD, same situation here as well. Finally seeing some momentum to the downside. We gapped the downside, slight retracement, and then this morning is really where the momentum stepped back in. So again, we had those wicks on the weekly chart. So we had three really significant wicks to the upside the past 3 weeks. 1, 2, 3, all coming back into resistance. So that was a really strong sign telling us that, okay, there's a very likely chance that pound USD is going to push to the downside. We're not going to throw those wicks there for prices potentially break to the upside. Of course, that could happen. It won't be the first time price does break through resistance, even though we respected it pretty well. But again, trading's all about likeliness. It's all about probability. We've probably got a better chance of pushing down than pushing through that level. And again, this kind of could still be bearish and then pull back up the remainder of the week as well. So that could happen too. But there was a good chance this week we're probably going to see a push down. And that's kind of what we're seeing at the moment. Now the question is, how far down do we go, and how long for as well? Because again, similar to euro, there's a couple of areas which I do like the idea of buys from. We'll see what price does here. Probably we'll wait to see if we can get a bigger push to 1.3. For me, judging how price is retraced, I'm not a big fan of how we've retraced, kind of put like a bowl shape pattern. So this area might be too soon to get long. It depends how I react, but I think I would rather a push to 1.3. I think that gets us back into the 0.618 if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, back into the 0.618 of the fib as well, from that low to the high. So that would be a more appropriate place for me. I'd be a bit more comfortable to hold a trade back to highs from there. But this is also an interesting level. We'll see how price reacts there. But again, at the moment, very, very bearish momentum. I wouldn't be jumping into longs just yet for pound or euro at all. And of course, dollar CAD opposite, pushing to the upside pretty well. We broke out of that descending channel last week pretty well. Momentum has just kept up since then. So again, dollar CAD, same situation. Looking for shorts for this one in the long term. I'm looking to follow this overall bearish structure, swing to the downside, pullback, swing to the downside. Again, expecting a pullback for another swing to the downside. So that's all I'm trying to trade with dollar CAD. And you can see we're coming back into some nice areas where potentially that next lower high could happen. So I'm looking at both of these levels here, 1.405 and 1.415. Both these areas look good to me. Not quite there yet, so still looking for a bit more upside for dollar CAD. I said at the start of the week there might be, not the start of the week, on the weekly analysis on the weekend, there might be some retest opportunities for dollar CAD to potentially push down, come back and test some of these levels before we do continue higher. But it looks like dollar CAD just opened up very bullish, so that might not happen. It still could happen, but probably going to keep pushing at this point. So yeah, we'll see what dollar CAD does at these levels, 1.405, 1.415, and things are good. Hopefully find some shorts, take it right back down, because I'm looking for another big swing. Aussie dollar, again, still very interested in buying this one, but again, I need a lot more downside. I want price to take out these lows here. This is kind of where price has been ascending from in this kind of weirded channel, if you will. So I want price to kind of break out of that, flush the downside, take out these lows, and then potentially go and put in a major higher low in for us to then push the upside. Anywhere between 0.63 and 0.62 really is my area of interest for Aussie dollar. Kind of coming back into this area. And yeah, looking to take it to the upside. I'm still looking at this being a bit of a bottom for Aussie dollar, and I'm looking at us kind of having somewhat of a reversal hit. And I'm also seeing a potential inverse head and shoulder pattern, left head and potential right shoulder, which is where I'm looking to trade. So I'm pretty bearish short term with Aussie dollar, but bullish long term. Again, still looking to try and trade that USD weakness in the long term, but for now, with that USD strength, I do think Aussie dollar, again, is likely to see a bit more downside here. So waiting till we get to those prices before I do engage, but that is very much the plan. New Zealand dollar, I'm not as much of a fan of as I am with Aussie dollar, or as I was with New Zealand dollar maybe a couple of weeks ago, just because we put this double top in. I'm not really a fan of that. It's kind of price fading at the highs, potentially looking like we might be having a much bigger push down. I mean, we are coming back into some nice structure over here at 0.58, where we can find support potentially and push to the upside. So it's still coming back into a nice level, but I think Aussie dollar looks like a much better setup, to be honest, in terms of where we're positioned and how price is pulling back. But at the moment, ends the USD, Aussie dollar, they're very similar pairs. So if Aussie does give us a big swing, I would have guessed ends the USD does the same thing. But yeah, in terms of setup, 0.58, 250 looks good. Like I said, I'd probably just focus with Aussie at this point in time. That is a setup that I'll keep an eye on, but I think I would prefer to trade Aussie dollar at that point. And then over to gold. So gold, very, very bearish. Since the week has opened, we're coming back into support here. So I would keep an eye to see how price reacts with this area, because there could be some nice buying opportunities. Of course, if dollars is going to stay strong, that probably would keep gold weak, but that could change pretty quickly. But yeah, we are coming back to some nice healthy support now. This is, of course, we had that massive rally a couple of weeks back, so we could be seeing a nice bounce again. Would I expect gold to push back to all-time highs from here? Potentially, but I would be a bit more cautious with that. I would definitely book profits before that. Yeah, I wouldn't bank on that swing happening. Also, I still like the high here as well for gold. Prior resistance, nice swing to the downside. We broke through that level. Haven't yet come back to retest it. So if we can, again, I think that'll be a nice place to position and start looking for some entry signals as well. So gold's still looking to see what we can do at these lows. And if we can take some reactions to the upside. Silver, not a big fan of silver, to be honest. Very, very flat. Hasn't really trended well. Stuck between these two levels here on the 4-hour chart, but even looking on the daily chart, looks very, very messy as well. So until silver can come back and test some of these areas, 31.29 down here, I don't think silver's a good buy or a good sell, really. I think it's just stuck between two levels, so it's difficult to trade this one well. Clearly support here, which we're struggling to break, but at the same time, we're still kind of trapped with these lower highs here as well. So yeah, I'm not a big fan of the price action of silver. Not really seeing much of an opportunity, to be honest. But if you can come back down to some of these levels, perhaps maybe you can find some long opportunities and maybe take it back to highs. But I'm still bullish long term with silver, but just not seeing a good opportunity to trade it at all.